My younger sister blamed her ADHD meltdowns on me for years. I lived with a ticking time bomb named Amber, but she was different from siblings who just get jealous. She didn't copy me. She dragged me down with her. If I walked past her room, her screaming fit was my fault. If I ate my morning frosted flakes, her tantrum was because of my chewing. If I got an A on a biology test, her sobbing breakdown was because of the academic pressure I apparently created. My name is Isabella, and for 16 years, I honestly believed I was the problem in my own house. It started small. Almost believable. Back in 7th grade at Maplewood Middle School, I'd be doing math homework at the kitchen table when Amber would storm in, tears streaming down her cheeks. She'd march straight to Mom and Dad, crying that my pencil scratching was triggering her ADHD and making it impossible for her to focus. "Isabella, sweetheart, could you just move to your room?" Mom would ask, that familiar exhausted look in her eyes. You know how sensitive Amber gets. I didn't mind back then. Moving seemed easier than sitting through another 2-hour meltdown that always ended with Dad rubbing his temples and muttering about family harmony. I'd quietly gather my books and retreat upstairs, thinking I was being the bigger person. But in truth, I was feeding a monster. By my freshman year at Brookdale High, Amber's performances had turned into award-worthy productions. I'd spent 3 weeks planning my 15th birthday party. Just a simple movie night with 5 close friends. Popcorn, cake, and the princess bride. Nothing fancy, nothing loud. But an hour before my friends were supposed to arrive, Amber launched into her most dramatic scene yet. She threw herself on the living room carpet, writhing and screaming about too many strangers invading her safe zone. Her face was flushed. Snot running. Hyperventilating so badly that Mom grabbed the phone to call 911. "Please," Amber gasped, clutching her chest. "I can't handle all these people. The noise, the energy, it's going to give me a panic attack." Isabella knows this sets me off, but she planned it anyway because she hates me. Dad looked at me like I'd stabbed my own sister. "Isabella, call your friends. Cancel the party." "But Dad, they're already on their way. Mia's mom is driving from Clearbrook right now." "Now, Isabella." So I made those phone calls with Amber smirking behind our parents' backs. 5 confused, disappointed friends. 5 awkward excuses. By Monday, I was officially that girl who couldn't commit to plans. The one with a complicated family, who shouldn't be invited because she'd probably cancel anyway. But the real breaking point came 3 months later, when Dad sat me down for what he called a serious conversation. "Isabella, we need to talk about your sister's condition," he began, voice heavy with that parental tone you know will crush you. "Amber's therapist, Dr. Sanchez, says her ADHD makes her extremely sensitive to environmental triggers. And unfortunately, you seem to be one of her biggest triggers." The words hit me like a physical blow. "We're considering sending you to live with your Aunt Margaret in Denver if you can't be more careful around her." Aunt Margaret. The woman who collected porcelain dolls and made tuna casserole every Tuesday. The aunt who lived in a cramped apartment where the highlight of the week was bingo night at the senior center. My entire future held hostage by my sister's supposed condition. "I don't understand," I whispered, my hands shaking. "What am I doing wrong?" Mom leaned forward, her face a mix of sympathy and frustration. "Honey, it's not that you're doing anything on purpose. But Amber needs stability, and Dr. Sanchez thinks having fewer variables in her environment might help." Variables. That's what I had become in my own home. A variable to be eliminated. From then on, I lived like a ghost. I tiptoed past Amber's door, ate in silence, hid my achievements. When I made honor roll, I tucked the certificate away. When I got picked for the academic decathlon, I never mentioned it. I existed only in the empty spaces of our family, shaping myself around Amber's needs like water filling cracks. But even my silence wasn't enough. One October morning, I was eating plain oatmeal, no sugar, because even the smell overwhelmed her senses when she appeared in the doorway like a storm cloud. "You're being too loud," she announced. I froze. I hadn't spoken. "Your spoon. It's clinking against the bowl. The sound is stabbing my brain like knives. I can't think, I can't breathe." She dropped to the floor, convulsing as if in a seizure. Mom came running. Dad dropped his coffee. Suddenly, I was the villain again for the crime of eating breakfast. "Isabella, go to your room," Mom ordered. "And next time, use a plastic spoon." As I trudged upstairs, I caught Amber's face shift. Just for a second. The anguish disappeared, replaced by something cold and satisfied. She knew I saw it. And then, snap back into performance mode. That night, I started a journal. Documenting every meltdown. Every trigger. Every manipulation. I told myself it was for patterns. But deep down, I knew I was gathering evidence. Months passed. November. December. With each week, I faded more. But then, something huge. My Harvard acceptance letter arrived. 4 years of 4.0 GPA, countless late nights, a personal essay that made my teacher cry, and I got in. But in the Reynolds house, even my biggest victory had to be hidden. When I'd been named valedictorian junior year, Amber had her worst meltdown yet, claiming my success proved Mom and Dad loved me more and that the stress was literally killing her brain. So this time, I hid my Harvard letter. In my pillowcase. Behind my mirror. Even inside a tampon box. Sometimes, I'd pull it out just to touch the seal and remind myself I mattered. But Amber could smell happiness like a predator. Over breakfast one Friday, she narrowed her eyes. "You're hiding something." I froze. "I don't know what you're talking about." "You've been different. Happier. You've got a secret. And I'm going to find it." Before I could stop her, she bolted upstairs into my room. She locked the door and tore through everything. Drawers slamming. Jewelry crashing. 20 minutes later, she emerged, waving my Harvard letter. Well, she smirked. "Harvard University. How interesting." My blood turned to ice. "Give that back." "Oh, Isabella," she said, dripping with fake sympathy. "You really thought you could keep this from me? From your own sister?" Then came her greatest performance yet. She locked herself in my room, turned on her phone camera, and sobbed into it. "This is what happens. My sister gets everything, and I get nothing. She hides her achievements to torture me. This is sibling abuse." She smashed my mirror, scratched her own arms, bruised her forehead, then emerged, whispering, "Look what you made me do." The video already uploading to TikTok and Instagram. Tagged with Harvard University. Later, she leaned in close. "I called Harvard while I was in there. Told them you've been abusing me for years." Mom confirmed it when they called. And just like that, Harvard rescinded my acceptance. Pending an investigation. 4 years of work, gone. But instead of breaking, I felt clarity. If Amber wanted to play games, I'd give her the performance of her life. The opportunity came when she applied for the Juilliard Summer Intensive. Their director, Ms. Catherine Wells, was coming to Brookdale High to watch auditions. And in an old interview, she'd mentioned her own daughter had ADHD. Perfect. For 3 weeks, I became the inconsiderate sister on purpose. Vanilla body spray she hated. Tapping my pen while she practiced. Leaving textbooks around. Always subtle. Always deniable. And finally, the morning of her audition, I set the trap. I sat outside the theater doors with bright highlighters spread across the table. Amber spotted me. 15 minutes before the most important audition of her life. She snapped. "You knew. You're sabotaging me," she screamed, collapsing in front of everyone, including Ms. Wells. She wailed about my perfume, my colors, my cruelty. Ms. Wells listened quietly, taking notes. And then asked one simple question. "Amber, did you take your prescribed medication today?" Her performance faltered. Just a crack. My mom handles all that. And the proper documentation for Juilliard? You did submit it, correct? Amber stammered. Tried to restart the tears. And then, she slipped. I don't even need the medication because the diagnosis is, she froze. Because the diagnosis is what? Ms. Wells pressed. Finally, cornered, Amber whispered, fake. My mom's friend wrote it so I could get extra time on tests. But this is Isabella's fault, she confused me. It was over. Within hours, the school and police were involved. The nurse practitioner who forged the papers faced losing her license. Amber had been selling fake ADHD meds to classmates. And Mom and Dad finally saw the truth. All those times we made you cancel plans, Mom sobbed. Your Harvard acceptance, Dad whispered. What have we done? Harvard was gone for me. But Stanford, my second choice, welcomed me with open arms. 6 months later, Amber was doing community service and finishing school at a continuation program. No colleges would touch her. And me. I started fresh at Stanford, full scholarship, my own life finally ahead of me. Sometimes, the best revenge isn't fighting back. It's letting someone show the world exactly who they really are. And sometimes, that's enough.